Hello! Today I'm going to be sharing one of my favorite holiday recipes, my chocolate pecan pie. Now this first step is optional. I do tend to make my own pie crust because it is pretty simple, but you can always just go with a store-bought one instead to save time. This particular pie crust recipe is actually a double crust recipe, so it has enough for both the lining of the pie tin and also so that you could make a lid. But since this is a open face pie, so to speak, you only need half of the recipe, but the fractions are a little bit weird, so I'm just going to put the full recipe in the description, and you can also check it out on my blog. You can always make the whole thing and then just freeze the other half for whenever you're going to make another pie. Now to the actual pie crust. The one thing I would recommend is that when you do make this pie crust, just be careful not to overwork the dough. You want to just mix in the butter until you can see some slight crumbs forming, and you definitely want to have very cold water to bring it together. If you don't have any individual pieces of butter still left in the dough, there won't be any flakes at all. Now I just like to gently roll it, once again trying not to work it too much or the dough will become tough, and I just shape it into a disc and then wrap it in plastic wrap and pop it into either the fridge or the freezer. Now we are going to move on to the pie filling, and like I said earlier, this is a chocolate pecan pie, so we're going to start out by melting 4 ounces of chocolate over a double broiler. Now this technique uses the heat of the water to melt the chocolate or whatever is on top in order to heat it more evenly and hopefully keep the chocolate from blooming. Now we are going to put 4 whole eggs into a medium bowl, and we are going to whisk them before adding anything else into the filling. Pecan pie is essentially a take on a custard pie, which is mostly egg. It just adds a lot more sugar, which gives it that sort of caramelly texture and flavor. Now we're going to add in 1/2 cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then also 1/2 teaspoon of salt as well. Then we are just going to stir all of that together. Remember not to whisk the filling. And then we are going to add even more sugar in the form of 1.5 cups of light corn syrup. And you want to mix that until you can see that everything is very well combined. And now we are going to also mix in the melted chocolate. I usually start a little bit at a time, just making sure that it is fully incorporated with the rest of the ingredients in the filling. And the first time that I made this pie, the filling actually ended up separating a little bit after it was baked, and I think it was because I did not stir it enough, so it was like a layer of chocolate at the bottom and then the sugar on top. So I'm just always sure to mix it thoroughly. Now we're going to pop our pie crust out of the fridge, and you just want to let it sit out for about 10 minutes before you start rolling it, but then you want to work quickly or else it could start to tear because the butter begins to melt as you apply more heat to it. Now you could do something fancy and try to crimp the edges, but for this pecan pie, I just ended up cutting it. I was having a little bit of trouble making it look good with the crimped edges, so I just went with this. And then we are going to take our cup of pecans and arrange them however you'd like. I usually do this cyclical pattern, but then I never have enough room for the rest of the pecans, so it doesn't look as good as I would like it, but you also want to get those pecans in there. And then we're going to bake it at 350 degrees for 50 to 60 minutes, and then you want to make sure to set it for at least 4 hours before you serve it, or else it'll go everywhere. Thank you for watching.